Everybody loves to brag about their chatting ratios. I get 20 to 1 chatting ratio. I get 30 to 1 chatting ratio. I get 60 to 1 chatting ratio. And I'm not saying they're intentionally misleading people. However, those numbers, those ratios are bullshit and they're misleading. And now when I see it, I question the intent of why they are saying that. And 99 times out of 100, the reason people talk about their chatting ratios when it is good is because they are trying to make themselves look good. That's really all it comes down to. And I'm going to tell you why it's bullshit. Now, whether that's to sell you something, maybe. If they are trying to sell you something and they talk about chatting ratios, you're going to have to look at that very suspiciously. Maybe they just want to brag, in which case, like, who cares? It's OFM, people brag. So in this video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why chatting ratios are bullshit, and you should completely pay no mind to them when people talk about them, because they are, for all intents and purposes, completely irrelevant to you in your situation, other than using them as a rough metric, and extremely rough metric, for how much money your chatter should be bringing in. Very rough. We'll talk about it in a minute. So the first reason why chatting ratios are bullshit, and this is the main reason, is that most money is generated. Okay, so in OFM, most money is generated through chatting. And in chatting, most money is generated through a small group of customers who buy everything. Whales. That has at least been the case for me. You have accounts that are doing $50,000. They're not selling $100 to 5,000 people. To 500 people. That's not how it works, right? They're selling 10,000 to this guy, 6,000 to that guy, 5,000 to this guy. And then, I would say 80% of that money is generated through whales. So the idea of chatting ratios implies that there is here's the point. You can't talk about averages when it comes to chatting, because the amount of money that's generated divided by the amount of fans that there are is irrelevant, because most of those fans aren't buying anything, or they're buying such little amount of content that it's not irrelevant, because money is money, but like, it's not going to move the needle. It's not going to make that much of a difference. So that's the main reason. And it's very disingenuous for people to talk about, oh, my chatting ratios are this, my chatting ratios are that, and I can get you the same chatting ratios, because it's totally untrue, because the nature of the definition of chatting ratio implies that like all these people are going to be buying anyway, and it's like, oh, the average. It doesn't work like that. It's nonsense. Number 2, chatting ratios do not take into consideration where the sub came from. So we all know that subs come in different shapes and sizes, different levels of quality. Okay. Twitter subs are low quality. Reddit subs are high quality. Dating app subs are super high quality. Although with dating app subs, maybe somebody can answer this for me. My chatters have been having a very hard time converting those subs into money. Because these guys, they all just want to meet up. And it's like, oh, sorry, we're not actually going to meet up. I'm just trying to sell you my videos. And so like, that's a big disconnect, because when they see that like they're not going to meet up, or they're not going to meet up right away, they either unsub or go silent or something like that. So that's a challenge that I have. If you have a solution to that, let me know. But it still doesn't take into consideration where the sub comes from. So if you have, like, the whole point is that with chatting ratios, there's too many factors that go into how much that person is going to buy, right? If it's dating apps, again, and this is really just like theory, because I don't do a lot of dating apps, although I have started using a bot that matches the location of the user, which is basically like dating apps. It's like dating apps, but not on a dating app. There's a lot of stuff that goes into consideration of like how much that sub is prepared to spend. And chatting ratios don't talk about that at all. Sometimes you'll hear people mention like, oh, chatting ratios are this, blah, blah, blah. And the subs need to come from dating apps. for example. All right. Reason number 3. It doesn't take into consideration how appealing the girl is and really like how niche her content is, which is kind of related to the last one, like where the sub came from. The sub comes from, fucking black midget circusperformers.com. Like that's a very targeted niche. And the guys who go there are presumably going to be much more open to buying content because it's so targeted. If it's just like generic Latina number 567321, I mean, come on. That's not very unique these days anymore. I don't care how good your marketing or chatting is. So again, it doesn't take into consideration how appealing the girl is. If you have a girl who is famous or who has a very unique body, she has huge tits, right? Let's just say, or she has a BBL, or she has big, beautiful eyes, or she's a fucking cosplayer for something, or she's a famous Twitch streamer, or she's a fucking whatever. You have all of these situations where the quality of the girl can skew the chatting ratio super high because her content is more in demand, right? If it's like, tell me, how about this? I was almost going to say, if you want to impress me with your chatting ratio, tell me that your girl is generic and you still get a good result. That's not what I want to say because I don't want to hear about the chatting ratio. I want to hear how much your chatters are selling every day. Tell me that. How much are they selling every day and how many subs are coming in? Now, I know you're going to think, right? Well, actually, I take that back. How much are they selling every day and to how many different subs are they selling? That's really what I want to know. They sold $500, but it was to 3 subs. Okay, that's interesting. But that paints a more clear picture as opposed to they sold $500 and they sold $5 to 100 subs. That's different, right? It's a different, like, at the end of the day, I don't care about the chatting ratio if the money is the same. It doesn't matter to me. The chatter worked. He gets paid a commission. The money's coming in. As long as those subs are not burned, I don't care about chatting ratios. It doesn't matter to me if it's 3 people or 50 people. But how appealing the girl is going to make it easier or harder to sell her content. So you hear this a lot when chatting agencies, for example, say, oh, we get this ratio, or some agency owners like, we get this ratio. I was talking to a guy yesterday on a phone call. Nice guy, not a dig against him. I respect him. He's great, whatever. But he's like, oh, my chatters, they get 20-to-1 ratio. They're really good. He's very smart. He's good at training chatters. Like, he makes a ton of money, not to take anything away from him. But his models are all fucking famous people. They're all influencers with 700,000 followers on Instagram or YouTube or something. So of course their content is going to fetch a higher price and be easier to sell than like your, Ukrainian refugee girl who like is taking pictures with her Huawei fucking 4.2. It's just how it is. So you can't, like, it doesn't paint a complete picture. Number 4, why chatting ratios are bullshit is that they are frequently misused as a way to make the user sound like they know how to chat. Now, this is something I've kind of gone over, talking about how people will say they'll want to sell their chatting services. We do it this way and fucking we get this ratio and everything's amazing and we're so great. But more research is required, right? Now, selling chatting services is not really something that is as heavily scrutinized as selling models, for example. Let's just draw the comparison between this and model marketplaces, right? Model marketplaces been around for almost 2 years at this point. There's a bunch of markets. It's like commoditized almost. You could even say the market there's way more supply than demand, Yes, there is demand for models, of course, but the supply right now is just fucking unreal. Like, there's so many huge markets and models, high quality models, get left unsold on those markets for weeks. It's crazy. So, the reason I bring up model marketplaces is because so many purchases have been made from model marketplaces. And conversations have been had and words have been exchanged between people, reviews, let's call them, that it's kind of understood, like, or at least among many people, it's understood what model is a good value, what questions to ask of a model marketplace, how to know if you're getting a good deal, how to know if the model is going to be a good fit for you. And still, as somebody who, you know, has a very close look at a model marketplace, like I have one, there's still a lot of fucking stupid buyers. There's still a lot of buyers that don't know what they're doing. We sold a model, super premium model, doing 20K a month. We sold her twice. Twice ended in a refund because the agency that took her didn't know what the fuck they were doing. 2 times. So like, anyway, the difference is that you compare that, the amount of purchases that have been made, the amount of times that money has changed hands in a model marketplace setting, compare that to private sales of chatting agency services, which is much less talked about because primarily, I would argue, most of the time, these chatting agencies do a terrible job and people don't want to admit that they fucking got hustled. So there's just not enough information about it. So there's not like this idea of knowing that chatting ratios are bullshit, or that it's just this like extremely lazy shorthand way that is accepted of saying like, oh, we get this ratio. Oh, we get that ratio. I saw somebody talking about, oh, we get 100-to-1 ratio. Bro, come on. Who is your girl? Where is she coming from? Like, where's the traffic coming from? Just because you get 100-to-1 ratio on your girl does not mean that if I give you a girl or if somebody else gives you a girl that you can get 100-to-1 ratio on that girl, right? Let's admit that. Let's make that part of the conversation so that you don't mislead people and give newbies the wrong idea. That's just what I think. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Let me know what you think. Drop me a comment, like the video, subscribe if you have not subscribed already, and I will see you in the next one.